Who's that Pokemon?
You're von Stroheim!
It's
Cars!
The time for the ultimate thing to reveal itself has come. As most of my wonderful audience must have already deducted quite splendidly by now, you are the smartest individuals on planet Earth after all, is that today's video is about the coolest villain in the world of JoJo, the Supreme Pillarman himself, Cars. Now, who is Cars? Cars is the major antagonist of JoJo Part 2 Battle Tendency. Alongside his allies SCDC, Wamu, and to some extent I suppose Santana, Cars awakens after a 5,000 year slumber to resume his quest. Cars desires to obtain the Red Stone of Asia in order to further evolve himself and finally conquer his biggest weakness, the sun. You see, the Pillarmen are an extremely strong race of humanoid vampire-like creatures who were once at the top of the food chain. They were even regarded as gods by the local human settlers that lived at that time. But they have just one major weakness which they cannot naturally overcome. Just like any other vampire in the JoJo universe, they will disintegrate if they are touched by sunlight or Hamon. Throughout the story of Battle Tendency, Cars manages to obtain the Red Stone of Asia and combine it with the stone mask he had created. His genius invention allowed him to create a way to conquer the sun, and he got what he wanted. Cars eventually evolves into the perfect being, the perfect thing. This is the version of Cars we will be using for today's video. Now, in the original story, Cars gets blasted into space and trapped there to float around the cosmos forever. In today's video, we will just magically instant transmission Cars away at the last moment, and Cars will tackle the Dragon Ball Gauntlet. So before we get into Cars specifically, I feel it is necessary to examine what his race, the Pillarmen, have in terms of abilities. The Pillarmen can really be regarded as the primordial ancestors of sorts of the vampires we see in part 1 of JoJo. If you reminisce back a bit, the vampires from Phantom Blood are created through the stone mask. Cars is actually the being who created and invented the stone mask through ancient Pillarman scientific methods which we never learn about, but you know, it's basically Unga Bunga Stone Age science. The Pillarmen, however, are vastly superior to vampires, as the vampires are somewhat molded around the creators of the stone masks. Each Pillarman possesses super strength, as can be seen by Wamu effortlessly ripping apart a stone pillar to bonk JoJo with. And even though this might seem pretty meek, you know, when comparing to Dragon Ball, do keep in mind that they have a ton of other abilities yet to come. The Pillarmen are very durable. The way their bodies are set up makes them able to survive a ton of damage with great ease. Take for example SCDC swallowing a stick of dynamite and just shrugging it off, or Cars falling from 175 meters up and not having a scratch on him. Even if you manage to strip away their entire body and leave only a brain behind, they can still function to some degree, as shown by SCDC taking control of Suzy Q as just a brain. The Pillarmen are also much faster than regular humans. Wamu, for example, can move faster than a human eye can react. Do I think that they are faster than light? Not at all. Like, I don't think that's a fair assumption to make. They are very fast though, which still counts for something, because just because they're not faster than light doesn't mean they can't compete. They also have much better senses than humans have. They can sense heat signatures, they can smell more smells than us, they can see better and farther than us, they can hear better than us, etc. They're basically just massive upgrades over human senses. And to top their base stat supremacy off, they are also very intelligent, and they can immediately learn how something is put together. Take for example a gun or a tank or maybe a special type of lock. They are basically what your mom wishes you were when she sent you to college, but you just came back a huge disappointment because, you know, you're you. But some of their more advanced powers are the ability to fully manipulate every single part of their body. A Pillarman can, for example, crawl into another living being and control them whilst eating them from the inside out. The way Pillarmen feed is by absorbing living things through physical contact. Their cells secrete a special sort of acid that can melt biological substances that touch the Pillarmen. Every single cell can be manipulated to some degree by the Pillarmen. Wamu, or Wham, however you want to pronounce it, depending on if you're like a sub enjoyer or a dub enjoyer, uses this to his advantage by twisting his spine to evade JoJo's Clacker volley attack. This ability also allows the Pillarman to fit through seemingly impossible spaces, as demonstrated by Santana squeezing through an air vent. But they can also combine this ability with their nearly immortal nature to do some pretty funny things. Santana, once again being the example, got shot several times by machine guns and kept the bullets inside of his body. He then proceeded to say "haha, no you" to the German soldiers by returning their bullets to them with Amazon Prime delivery time. And we did touch upon it for a bit earlier, but we have to talk about their ability to absorb living things, because this is one hell of a strong ability to just passively have. Combine this ability with the Pillar Man's speed and you have Wamu just creating a human centipede like fingering some guy's forehead and sucking an entire train of men bone dry. And I feel that last bit may have come off wrong. Oh well. Now to move on to two abilities which are completely exclusive to cars. The first ability unique to cars is his elemental mode of light. For context, each of Cars, Wamu and SCDC had a specific elemental mode with which they fought. In the case of Cars, his mode was that of light. But you should not take these naming schemes completely literally. It's not like Cars literally controls light. What actually happens is that Cars extrudes his ulnar bones from his arms and makes tiny bone claws revolve around them at high speeds, creating a chainsaw of sorts. The light which refracts off of these tiny bone teeth create the illusion that Cars has coated his blade with light somehow. This is a very cool deliberate choice of powers for Cars though, as his aim was to conquer the biggest source of light in the heavens in the form of the sun. But these bone blades can cut cleanly through solid metal, as demonstrated by Cars slicing the mechanically enhanced Stroheim clean in two. But Cars' biggest power-up by far comes in the form of him achieving his goal. Once Cars obtained the Redstone of Asia and placed it in the stone mask, he got hit by a blast of UV light which evolved him into the ultimate thing. In this form, Cars is freed from his weakness to sunlight. He is also just completely immortal in every possible sense of the word. He can reshape his body on a cellular level to become any type of human, animal or plant. And in the case of this video, this would naturally include being able to transform into any type of race or animal from the world of Dragon Ball. His powers are based on biology, so I fully believe that he would be able to copy alien biology fairly easily, but obviously that is just my take. I don't have any proof for this, but I thought I'd mention it here because I do expect some people in the comments to probably comment on this as like a method he might be able to win, like, oh, he could copy character X from Dragon Ball, you know, like, just mentioning it here, I think he could probably do that to some degree, but by no means am I certain. But he also becomes capable of using the Hamon technique at a much higher potency than any human could ever hope to produce. For context, Hamon is a breathing style martial arts which grants the users powers which have the same effect on Pillar Man and vampires as sunlight has. And to top it all off, his base stat total also increases exponentially, including his intelligence. In this form, Cars has an IQ of 400, so you can't use the argument that someone will outsmart him lightly, because in typical JoJo fashion, chances are that he is going to outsmart their outsmarting. So I'm going to be totally and completely honest with you guys here, Cars is pretty tough to just give a placement. Physically, he is quite obviously weaker than a lot of the characters from even early Dragon Ball. If you were to ask me who would win in a contest of pure strength between, say, Tambourine and Cars, I would very likely bet my money on Tambourine being stronger. But the specific combination between his absorbing ability and his immortality and all of his other stuff does make me think that he can squeeze out a win more often than you might think. He can also surprise his enemies much easier than normal due to the way his body works. For example, if he is lying face down in the dirt with Vegeta just standing over him and gloating, and we both know this would happen by the way, don't try to pretend it wouldn't, and he could just Dragon Thunder Vegeta and absorb him, like he wins that fight. Even though Vegeta is so much stronger than him in the traditional sense. Predicting the way his battles would go is very difficult because there are a lot of possible outcomes to go over. And I did mention earlier that Cars could change himself into any other type of living thing. Now, I do think that he could make himself a Saiyan, for example. Say he sees Vegeta and learns how his biology works, one way or another, right? He could potentially reshape himself to become a Saiyan for sure. But it's not like he would copy Vegeta's power level. At least I don't think it would work like that. He would get access to all of the Saiyans like biological abilities such as Zenkai boost and becoming a grade A, being able to use Ki maybe, but he wouldn't completely copy someone's power level because I don't think that if he, for example, turns into a bird, he becomes the same strength as that bird. He's just a bird with the strength of Cars, right? Like, maybe I'm just completely misunderstanding that, but that is the way I look at this. But mainly the way I see Cars losing is if he encounters the same fate he did in JoJo's. He could get sent into space early on without knowing that Saiyans and other alien races even exist. He would therefore be unable to alter his biology to make use of their abilities or to escape back to Earth. This would probably just be a temporary fix though, because once he encounters an alien race with the ability to traverse space, he could make his way back. And since we're talking about the context of Dragon Ball here, there's a lot more advanced alien races than JoJo JoJo has, for example. But another more definitive method he can lose by is by being captured or sealed. He is very vulnerable to the evil containment wave, for example. Like, none of his abilities would allow him to easily escape from his vessel unless some outside party releases him. And the third and last way he can lose, in my opinion, is if he gets overpowered so much that not even a single one of his cells remain. In order to prevent Cars from living on as a single-celled organism and rebuilding himself over time, you need to eradicate every last single final cell at once. And in order to do that, you need to have someone many times stronger than him completely obliterate him. Now, I myself would place Cars at around the Demon King Piccolo saga due to the presence of both Roshi and Tien, who both know how to use the evil containment wave in that saga. And if this somehow fails, like both Tien and Roshi miss or anything else just goes completely haywire, the next part where I believe Cars would get completely overpowered is somewhere between the arrival of Raditz and Vegeta fighting Goku on Earth. Now, there is not an exact number of times someone needs to be stronger than their enemy to just obliterate them without a trace, at least never officially stated. But I would personally give Cars a power level of about 80-ish, give or take, when it comes to like pure physical strength. He could easily overpower even the strongest of normal humans, but he is no key-using martial artist like Roshi. Vegeta having a power level of 180,000 as a great ape makes him about 2,250 times stronger than my estimate of Cars would be. And in my humble opinion, this should be more than enough to completely erase every single one of Cars' cells. So as a result, I am personally going to be placing him at the Demon King Piccolo saga for the aforementioned reasons. But I do totally understand it if you place him differently, because he really is very hard to place. Whilst he is not obviously like super powered, I mean he is, but when you compare him to say in Saga Yamcha, like physically Yamcha would be able to completely curb stomp him with no effort. But due to his biology, due to the way he can absorb people and just eat them, due to the way he can sort of possess people by like crawling inside of them, his just overall power-ups, his immortality, like he has a lot of these abilities that do help him. But you know, I can really go on endlessly and just compare him to every single like fighter in Dragon Ball, but I don't know, I think he just is very difficult to place due to the way he works, really. But what did you guys think about this video? Did I give Cars a fair shot, or did I really do him dirty? Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But with all of that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your busy day to watch my videos. It really does mean a lot, and I know I say this at the end of every video, but it really does make my day when I see even 100 views on a video I made, because that's still 100 people who chose to watch my video, and that's enough for me. But if you liked today's video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to never miss another video ever again. Work hard, study well, and eat and sleep plenty, and I will see you all again in the next video. Peace out.